Welcome. It's good to see you all. And tonight we're going to finish our study of the Nectar of Instruction, Sri Upadeshamrita, which is the second book which we've studied in our Bhakti Shastri course in pursuance of your degree in the Bhakti Shastri. So the first book we studied was the Ishopanishad, and now we're studying the Nectar of Instruction. So tonight we'll finish, and then next week we'll do an overview of the 11 verses of Nectar of Instruction, and then there'll be a week's break, and then you can have your exam. From memory, it was the 14th of February. Let's check. Wednesday, yeah, 14th. Okay. So that will be your exam. Your exam. So you have 2 weeks to prepare for your exam. I wish you all the luck in the world. May Krishna be with you. So we've covered the first 9 verses. Verse 1 and 2 deal with pravriti, or things that we need to avoid in spiritual life. There are certain things we need to avoid. Materialistic things, because our consciousness is purely spiritual by nature. Jivera Srupa Hoy Krishna Anicca Das, or there's another verse, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema from the Chaitanya Charitamrita tells us that originally we were all pure. We were all Krishna conscious. But then we became contaminated. And that contamination is heightened if you do not follow the instructions of the first 2 verses. In other words, if you're materialistic in your consciousness, then you will forget Krishna. So then the verses 3, sorry. No, yeah, that's right. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. They deal with pravriti as opposed to nivriti. Or in other words, things we need to accept in devotional service. Things which will help us on our spiritual journey towards our Krishna consciousness. Then verse 8 discusses what we call raganuga bhakti, or spontaneous devotional service to Krishna, which is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give us. And that's what we're trying to cultivate. Then verses 9, 10, and 11, tonight we'll do verses 10 and 11. They're dealing with the higher levels of bhakti, which are called bhava and prema bhakti, which are termed the sajja. Sajja means the goal or perfection in Krishna consciousness. Our sadhana leads to sajja. Right? We practice, sadhana means practice. We practice spiritual life to attain the goal of spiritual life. That's described in the final three verses, 9, 10, and 11. So tonight we'll go through 10 and 11, and we'll hear about what we're aiming for in our Krishna consciousness. So verse number 10, in the Sanskrit it says, Kamibhya parito hare priyataya vyaktim yajur gyaninas tebhyo jnana vimukta bhakti parama premaika nishtash tataha tebhyashta pashupala pankaja drishta tabyo pisa radhika preshta tadwad iyam tadiya sarasi tam nashrayat kaha kriti. So the translation is, in the Shastra, it is said, of all types of fruitive workers, he who is advanced in knowledge of the higher values of life is favored by the Supreme Lord Hari. Out of many such people who are advanced in knowledge, jnanis, one who is practically liberated by virtue of his knowledge can take to devotional service. He is superior to the others. However, one who has actually attained prema, pure love of Krishna, is superior to him. The gopis are exalted above all the advanced devotees because they are always totally dependent upon Sri Krishna, the transcendental cowherd boy. Among the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the most dear to Krishna. Her Kunda lake is as profoundly dear to Lord Krishna as this most beloved of the gopis. Who then will not reside at Radha Kund and in a spiritual body surcharged with ecstatic devotional feelings, aprakrita bhava, render loving service to the divine couple Sri Radha Govinda, who perform their Ashtakaliya Leela, their eightfold daily pastimes. Indeed, those who execute devotional service on the banks of Radha Kund are the most fortunate people in the universe. So it's interesting because this book, or the translation of this book, possibly came about because Prabhupada was asked by his disciple, Keshavananda, to comment on the Ashtakaliya Leela. The Ashtakaliya Leela means the eightfold daily pastimes of Krishna. What does God do all day? This is described. We have the information. Everything is described. What does he do? So during the 8 phases of the day, what does he do? So it's interesting because here it is mentioned. Now, because Prabhupada was the Yuga Acharya, Prabhupada is the founder of the Hare Krishna movement. He is the Yuga Acharya, which means the guru for this age of Kali. Just like Lord Chaitanya is the Yuga avatar. He is the incarnation of God for this age, who teaches the process of Sankirtan, Jagya, congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, Kirtan. Then Srila Prabhupada is the Yuga Acharya. He's the one who teaches us how to attain Krishna, how to attain God. So it is not a sentimental thing. So, in other words, he gave us the Ashtakaliya Leela, or the high information of God's pastimes, in the form of this book. Now, it's not really explained in this book in detail. There are other books, Sri Krishna Bhavanamrita, Govinda Leelamrita. There's different books which do describe these things in detail. But it's interesting because Rupa Goswami is telling us, if you want to understand these higher, intimate details of Krishna's Leela, or his pastimes, his activities, you have to master each of the teachings within this book. How will you understand it if you can't even control your senses? Right? The first verse of the book says, control your anger, your mind, your speech, your tongue, your belly, and your genitals. So if you can't control these things, how will you understand Krishna, God? You have to understand these things first. So it's interesting. Prabhupada was asked, comment on this, and this is his commentary. First do this, then we'll explain the higher things. Very interesting, because Prabhupada understood. What was the use of giving this to the people of the age of Kali who are not qualified for it yet? Once you're qualified, then we'll give it to you. So, in this verse, we're hearing about gradations of devotees. First, we're hearing about the karmis. Karmis means fruitive workers, people who are attached to enjoying material sense gratification in this world. Now, there are different types of karmis. Karmi means someone who performs karma. Karma means activity in this world. We all know the word karma. So a karmi is someone who's performing karma. But the traditional description of the word karmi is someone who follows or performs fruitive activity, materialistic activities in a regulated way, according to shastric principles, to scriptural principles. In other words, if you want to enjoy your senses, there's a regulated way given to enjoy your senses. In this day and age, people don't follow any regulation. They just do whatever they want. And how is that working out for the world? It's not, the world's not peaceful. Because people just, I can do whatever I want. Do what you want to do, be what you want to be. Have you heard that song? Yeah. Do what you want to do, be what you want to be. Yeah, okay, how's that going for everyone? Yeah, we don't like what we see. Everyone's trying that. That's the philosophy of the modern world, but it's not working. Unregulated sense gratification leads to misery. You have to regulate your sense gratification. So a karmi is one who regulates his sense gratification, but he thinks that is the goal of life. The goal of life is to enjoy my senses in this world. That's not the goal of the devotee, of the bhakta, of the followers of Krishna, the devotees of Krishna. That's not the goal. In this day and age, they don't even follow the regulated path. They just do whatever they want. Yeah, vegan. So it's not enlightened. The next platform mentioned are the Gyanis. The Gyanis means the philosophers, those who, when you become a philosopher, you quite often become detached from this world. That's what philosophy is for. This world is temporary, it is miserable, so let me detach myself from it. So these are the Gyanis, the philosophers. So they're higher than the karmis because at least they understand there's something more. There's got to be something more than this. If this is all there is in the world, then God help us. So therefore, the philosopher is someone who analyzes and he understands the Jnani. So he's higher. But higher than him, which is mentioned, are the devotees. One who has actually attained prema, pure love of Krishna, is superior to him. So a devotee, so if you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, the great transcendental literature from ancient India, which Prabhupada kindly translated for us, we understand from Srimad Bhagavatam there are many pure devotees. Prahlad Maharaj, Yudhishthira Maharaj, Prithu Maharaj, the list goes on, Ambarish Maharaj, so many pure devotees are mentioned. So these pure devotees are more exalted than the Gyanis, people who have pure love for God. We aspire to follow after them and to become like them. However, it mentions in this verse, the gopis are higher than them. And that's the gradation of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam was spoken in 7 days to Maharaj Parikshit because he had 7 days to live. So it was spoken to him. Then, at the end, he met with his mother Uttara. And she said, tell me what you heard. Tell me what you heard. The final instructions on how to leave this world. The absolute truth. And then he said, I don't have time. I can't repeat the whole thing. She said, then give me the summary. So he spoke the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, which we now have. It's a very powerful book, which is like a summary of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So if you study the Brihad Bhagavatamrita or the Srimad Bhagavatam, it leads us to the point of understanding the best of all the devotees are the gopis of Vrindavan. Right? They're superior to everyone. Right? Why? Because they can serve Krishna with all of their senses, without any reservation, with complete love and complete devotion. That's why it's considered the most perfect of all rasas or relationships with God. So the gopis are considered the highest of all the devotees. But then it says, as the Bhagavatam says, and as the Brihad Bhagavatamrita says, one gopi stands out, and that is Srimati Radharani, who is just here, just behind in the picture. He stands supreme, and this is like the culmination of all of our philosophy, right? If you follow the other previous 9 verses, this is what you'll arrive at. Srimati Radharani is the goal. To become her pure maid servant is the goal. It is what Caitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach us and give us. Right? That she is the best of all of Krishna's devotees. Why? Because Jiva Goswami actually says she's so qualified, she alone can fully satisfy Krishna. We're just like extras. And then the question is, so why do we exist? Sometimes we have to think, why do I exist? It's an important question. I asked Gopi Pranadana Prabhu this one time. I said, so why do we exist? It's a very deep question. He said, because there's something in you that only you can give to Krishna. Krishna enjoys variety. That's why we exist, because Radharani wants to share Krishna with others. So then so many expand. And then Krishna, the rasa increases because there's more people to share with. It's pleasant to have a nice sweet. It's more pleasant to share it with someone who you're affectionate to. So this is why we exist. And Srimati Radharani, she is the topmost of all of the devotees. And she can fully satisfy Krishna in every way because she is the most qualified. She is Mahashakti. She is Krishna's internal pleasure potency. Right? Bliss personified. She is the source of Hladini Shakti. Hladini Shakti means bliss. It comes from her because she creates bliss for Krishna. So qualified that even God himself becomes blissful in her association. That's how qualified she is. So this is the culmination of our philosophy, that she is the topmost devotee. In the previous verses, we were told, the topmost place is Vrindavan. Is Govardhan, actually is Radha Kund, her Kunda, her lake. That is the topmost place. And she is the topmost devotee that is being emphasized here. Prabhupada says on Radhashtami, he gave a lecture on Radhashtami, and he said that if you take one flower and you offer it to Radharani, then Radharani will take that and she will offer it to Krishna. And she will say to Krishna, Krishna, this devotee is offering to you this flower. They are more qualified than me. Please accept it. And because of her intercession, then Krishna accepts the flower. That's our entire philosophy. You cannot approach Krishna directly. You must approach Krishna through the representatives of Srimati Radharani. The Guru is said to be an intimate maidservant of Srimati Radharani. So therefore, we serve the devotees. Gopi Bhatu Pada Kamaliyo Dasa Dasa Anudas. We serve the servants, and that's how we become qualified to please Srimati Radharani, to be accepted by her, and then she will offer our devotion to Krishna. That's our philosophy. So, in the first paragraph, Prabhupada says, Radha. Sorry, I was in the wrong. Those living beings within the jurisdiction of the material world, material energy, sometimes engage themselves like hogs and dogs in working very hard simply for sense gratification. Some karmis become strongly attracted to performing Vedic sacrifices. Thus, they are elevated to heavenly planets. After exhausting the results of their so-called pious activities, they again return to the earth, which is called Marchaloka, the place of death. So, Prabhupada says, quoting the Bhagavatam, those who try to enjoy their senses in an irregulated way, even in an irregulated way, are no better than hogs and dogs. No better than a pig or a dog. Because what does a pig or a dog do? Eat, sleep, mate, defend. That's it. What do most humans do? Eat, sleep, mate, defend. It's no different. It's just it's called Dvipada Pashu. It's just a polished animal. That's what most humans are. It's polished animal. Not more evolved in their consciousness. So here, this is a karmic being described. Then Prabhupada says in the third paragraph, as indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam by the term Sharira Bandha, bound to bodily existence, as long as one maintains any conception of material sense enjoyment, his mind will be absorbed in karma, fruitive activity. And this will oblige him to transmigrate from one body to another. One should therefore be eager to understand Atma Tattva. Unless one comes to the platform of Atma Tattva, one remains on the platform of ignorance. Atma Tattva means knowledge of the soul. That's a jnani. A jnani is someone who philosophizes and tries to understand the presence of the soul within the body. So that is a step up from being just a sense enjoyer. Then in paragraph 4, Prabhupada says, a jnani's knowledge is considered impure because he has no information about the devotional service and thus neglects the direct worship of the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. So, even if you understand you're not the body, you are the soul, but if you don't engage in the service of Krishna or of God, you're still not fully self-realized. So that is the perfection of spiritual knowledge. The perfection is you engage your senses in the service of the master of the senses. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Uchite. Paragraph 5, Prabhupada says, a person is wise when he surrenders unto the lotus feet of Krishna. But such a Mahatma is very, very rare. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mahatmanas tamam parata devim prakritim ashritaha. The Mahatmas, the great souls, they engage themselves in the service of Krishna, and then they become absorbed in the Devi Prakriti. Devi Prakriti means the spiritual energy. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, Samahatma Sudulabha. Sudulabha means it is rare that someone, how many Hare Krishnas are there on the planet? 10 million. 10 million. How many people are there? 8 billion. So what's that percentage-wise? Yeah, so very small. Very small. It's not many. 1 in 1,000 maybe. Something like that. Who have this higher knowledge. Or accept the higher knowledge. It's a rare soul. Samahatma Sudulabha, Krishna says, it's rare. Most people are just absorbed in the material energy. Some are philosophers, but then it's rare that then someone realizes their eternal relationship with Krishna, that God is a blue cowherd boy, and his internal potency is a golden cowherd girl, princess, Radha. Then, Prabhupada says in the 6th paragraph, after taking to devotional service under the regulative principles, a person may come to the platform of spontaneous love of Godhead. Krishna then recognizes him to be superior. The devotees who have developed love of Krishna are certainly in an exalted position. So Prabhupada explains, that's what this book is explaining. The first 7 verses explain to us about sadhana, so that we come to the 8th verse, which means we perform spontaneous service to Krishna. So it elevates us gradually. If you follow this book, it will gradually elevate your consciousness. The first 3 verses are the secrets to bhajan or sadhana. If you can perfect the first 3 verses, you'll advance very quickly in devotional service. Paragraph 7, Prabhupada says, out of all exalted gopis, Srimati Radharani is the highest. No one can excel the devotional service of Srimati Radharani. Indeed, not even Krishna can understand the attitude of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, he took the position and appeared as Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu just to understand her transcendental feelings. God himself cannot understand Radha's position. Therefore, he has to take her position. And then you read in the pages of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, just like in the Gundicha Marjana pastime, when they cleaned the temple of the Gundicha temple, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the other devotees preparing for Lord Jagannath to come. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the mood of Radha, cleaned more than everyone else put together. In other words, Radha's devotion to Krishna is stronger than everyone else has put together. That's how powerful her bhakti is, her devotion. That's why we worship her. When we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Hare means Hara, Hara means Radha. So we pronounce her name first, because by serving her or meditating on her, we can then approach Krishna, God. So that is our philosophy. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself taught us this. Krishna took the position of the mood of Radharani to teach us how, the Bhakta avatar, to teach us how to be devotees of Krishna. Who's the best person to teach us? God himself. But he takes the mood of a devotee to teach us how to become devoted to him. In the 7th paragraph, Prabhupada says, there is no difference between thinking of Krishna and associating with him. Rather, Vipralamba Seva, thinking of Krishna in separation, as Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu did, is far better than serving Krishna directly. there's a intricate point. If we want to develop prema, because these final 3 verses are talking about prema, or the highest levels of bhakti, you need to cultivate vipralamba seva. Vipralamba seva means service in separation, the mood of separation. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the 6 Goswamis came to teach us. You have to learn to feel something about Krishna. If you don't have feelings about Krishna, then how will you develop love for him? You have to cultivate feelings. How do you cultivate feelings? By serving him and by hearing about him and by chanting his names. This will cultivate love for Krishna, which is the goal. Prema prayojana. Love for Krishna is the goal of our consciousness. So we have to learn eventually to feel separation from it. At the moment, we don't feel very much at all. So until we learn to feel, Prabhupada says in Nectar of Devotion, tears should come to the eyes when you chant the holy name of Krishna. Tears come to the eyes a lot, which is good. And feeling separation from Krishna, so that's where the tears should come. So this is called vipralamba. You should cultivate feelings, Krishna. And then the feelings then advance as you become purified to become feelings of separation. And your heart has to break in separation from Krishna. And that is the methodology to realize Krishna, your eternal relationship. In paragraph 8, Prabhupada says, in this way, Srila Rupa Goswami gradually concludes that just as Srimati Radharani is the most exalted devotee of Lord Krishna, so her bathing place, Radha Kund, is equally dear to Krishna. Among all the gopis, she alone stands supreme as Krishna's most beloved. So this is the esoteria, the high teachings of the Hare Krishna movement, the Krishna consciousness movement. That Radharani's lake, which I had the good fortune of being at about 7 weeks ago. This lake is non-different from Srimati Radharani herself, and Shamakund, the adjoining lake, is non-different from Krishna himself. And when you go there, you can perceive it. You can feel that the lake is permeated with all of the energy of Radha herself. It is Radha herself. Sometimes when the Brijbasis, the locals, when they circumambulate the kunds, when they go around the lakes, they say we're circumambulating Radharani. I don't think it's different. Right? Krishna himself, when he feels separation from Radharani, he goes to Radhakund. And when Radharani wants to feel close to Krishna, she bathes in Shamakund. She bathes there every day. Krishna bathes in Radhakund every day. So we're so fortunate because Radha and Krishna have, I think we can imagine this. Imagine loving someone so much. We have this saying in English, your heart melts. Right? So we know what the feeling is. So imagine you love someone so much that your actual physical body melts. Right? Imagine the intensity of that love. It's perceivable. Right? We can understand the concept. Yeah, it could happen. It's beyond what we feel because, none of us melt. Our hearts melt sometimes. But imagine your actual form melts in love. That's what happened with Radha and Krishna. With Krishna, God, and Radharani, his Mahashakti, his supreme energy, they melted and took the forms of these kunds. And we're so fortunate we can bathe in those kunds. And when you bathe in those kunds, you become purified. There's no feeling like bathing in Radha Kund. Did you bathe? Yeah. There's no feeling. Right? There's nothing which feels like bathing in Radha Kund and Shama. because you're completely surrounded. You know, I go under and I hold my breath for as long as I can underneath and stay underneath, right? Just immersed in the liquid form of Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna himself. So this is our great fortune, that although Radha and Krishna are in uppercut lila, which means they're not manifest right now on the earth, but they've left their legs, which are non-different from them, for all of us to worship and to take advantage of. In paragraph 9, Prabhupada says, everyone interested in Krishna consciousness should ultimately take shelter of Radhakund and execute devotional service there throughout one's life. So that is the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to become qualified that we could stay at Radhakund and perform our sadhana, our devotional service there. However, at this point in time, we're not qualified. I know myself, I'm not qualified to live there. Radharani, she kicks me out. I've stayed there on several occasions, but a couple of times. How many times? Twice? No, more than twice. But I remember one time she kicked me out. What are you doing here? Go. You know, I feel fortunate that I was kicked out by, you know, Radharani and her representative. So you could, hey, go. But it was very sweet. It was very nice. You know, her mood was like, you're not qualified yet. Go. That wasn't, it wasn't unpleasant. It was just real. If someone really loves you, really cares about you, they'll tell you what you need to hear. People don't want to hear what they need to hear, as we experience. People don't want to hear it, what they need to hear. But a real friend tells you what you need to hear. So that's what happened with me. I was staying there and Radharani, in one way and another, she just said, go. You're not ready. So that's what I needed to hear. I'm not ready. Because why? Because I'm not ready. Sometimes we think we're more advanced than what we are. So when you're in the holy places like Radhakund and Vrindavan, the eternal residents, they hold a mirror in front of your face to show you what you're actually like. Look at this. So you have to become purified. That's why Prabhupada is, Rupa Goswami, Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada have given us this book to teach us how to go through the different levels to become qualified so that one day we can reside in Radhakund. So if you can't physically reside there, then you should reside there within your mind, which is what I try to do every day. Every day I think of Radhakund, every day. I have this string from Radhakund. Why? Because it reminds me every day, Radhakund. I got it from there. I dipped it into the coin. Every day I think of Radhakund, not all day of every day, which is what I should be doing. Every day I should be thinking all day, every day about Radhakund, but every day I think of Radhakund. That's what we should be doing as devotees. So, and if we do that, then gradually we'll become qualified, gradually, so that one day we may be able to reside there, right? Do service there. Does anyone have any points on verse 10? So now the final verse, verse 11. Krishnash yochchai pranaya vasati priyasibhyo pirata kundam chasya munibir abitas chaturik eva vyadayi yat prishtair apyalam asulabham kim puna bhakti bhajam tat premedam Sakrit api sarasnatur avishkaroti. Of the many objects of favored delight, and of all the lovable damsels of Brajabhumi, Srimati Radharani is certainly the most treasured object of Krishna's love. And in every respect, her divine Kund is described by great sages as similarly dear to him. Undoubtedly, Radha Kund is very rarely attained, even by the great devotees. Therefore, it is even more difficult for ordinary devotees to attain. If one simply bathes once within those holy waters, one's pure love of Krishna is fully aroused. So, in the first paragraph, Prabhupada says, Radha Kund is so exalted because it belongs to Srimati Radharani, who is the most beloved object of Sri Krishna. Radha Kund is as dear to Krishna as Radha herself. Radha Kund is very rarely attained, even by great personalities fully engaged in devotional service, not to speak of ordinary devotees who are only engaged in the practice of Vaiti Bhakti. So, Radha Kund itself is most exalted because it belongs to Srimati Radharani. Now, what's the special quality of Radha Kund? The only people, the only devotees who can attain service at Radha Kund are Radha, Radha's Sakis, her friends, and her maidservants, her manjaris. No one else can go there. No male can go there. The only male who can go there is Krishna himself, God himself. That's why it's the most exalted place, because no one else can go there. Even the other Brijbasis, even Krishna's father and mother, they can't reside at Radha Kund. They can't experience pastimes at Radha Kund. There at Radha Kund, Krishna is, God himself, is happiest because he is intimately exchanging pastimes with his most intimate, loving devotees, the gopis of Braj. And not even any gopis, but the left-wing gopis or the followers of Srimati Radharani. Even Chandravali's group cannot go there. No cowherd boys can go there. No one can go there except for Radha, Krishna, and their most intimate associates. That's why it is considered the topmost place of pastime. Because Radharani is Krishna's dearest devotee, and her place, just like, you know, if you love someone and you go to the place where they have spent a lot of time, you'll be filled with memories of them. So if it says that if Krishna cannot be with Radharani, he goes to Radha Kund. And he feels, because he remembers all the pastimes, all of the exchanges they have there. And it gives him the greatest satisfaction. So it is considered the topmost of all holy places. As Prabhupada says, it is as dear to Krishna as Radha herself. That's extraordinary. As dear as Radha herself. It is non-different from Radharani, Radha Kund, but as dear. Krishna feels as happy at Radha Kund as he does with Srimati Radharani. So they're non-different. You know, when you're kids, because, you know, Krishna's 16, Radha's 15, you know, they're kids. I mean, they're young. You know, when you're a kid and, like, you know, the girls put up signs, no boys allowed. Yeah. So they do that, like at Radha Kund. in the forest. As you come to it, it says no boys allowed. It says that, because that's their mood. Only Krishna. Even when Krishna comes, they say, "What are you doing here?" Now they say to Krishna, "What are you doing here?" Even Krishna, he's the only male allowed, radically. And for us to enter Radhakund, we have to give up Purusha Bhav. Purusha means masculine, means the male, the enjoyer, the controller. Men like to enjoy and control. That's men's ego. They like to enjoy, they like to control. Purusha Bhav means we are imitating both men and women in this world. We're imitating Krishna because he is the only enjoyer and the only controller. And we're trying to imitate him. And that's why we can't enter Radha Kund fully in our consciousness at this point in time, because we're competing with Krishna still in our ego. We want to be the enjoyer. We want to be the controller. And it becomes very evident. I've spent time at Radha Kund in these places. As we said, a mirror is put in front of your face by the eternal living entities that reside there. And they show you, you're still trying to imitate Krishna. Your heart is still full of lust. It is still full of envy, still full of pride, right? Anger, illusion, all these materialistic qualities, greed. It's all still there. So until your heart becomes cleansed, cheto dapata marjanam, until you're cleansed, you cannot fully enter these places, because you cannot compete with Krishna. We keep trying, but you cannot compete with Krishna. And if you go to Radhakund, and if there's anything in your heart where you're trying to compete with Krishna, he won't let you in. Actually, the first thing we do when we go to Radhakund, I took, who's there? Vishnujan, did I take you to Radhakund? No, okay. Have you been to Radhakund? You have, okay. So when you first go to Radhakund, the first thing we do is we offer obeisances to Lord Shiva, Undeshwara Mahadev. Why? Because he is the Lord of the false ego. And he is called Kshetrapal, the protector of the holy places. So he surrounds the holy places, and those who are unqualified cannot enter in. Physically, you can enter, but doesn't mean you'll be there in consciousness. You can go to Radhakund. You can get on a plane, fly to Delhi, get the taxi. You can be there in 24 hours from now. You could walk out the door in 24 hours, you can be in Radhakund. Doesn't mean you're there in consciousness. So therefore, the first thing we do when we go to Radhakund, we pray to Lord Shiva. Please reduce my false ego. Please take away my false ego, because it's stopping me from serving Krishna. In the second paragraph, Prabhupada says, it is stated that a devotee will at once develop pure love of Krishna in the wake of the gopis if he at once takes bath in Radha Kund. Now, it's interesting. I said to you, I think in the beginning of the course, in the very beginning, I said that, leading into studying the Upadeshamrita, the Nectar of Instruction, so many instructions were coming from so many places. In Vrindavan, many senior devotees, Satchidananda Swami and others, they were talking about this book. So I was getting all this inspiration and information, things I didn't even know that I'm sharing with you. And just the other day, one of my Shiksha gurus wrote online, I read it, That line that I just read then, he actually commented on that line. Very interesting, because it was the week that I'm about to present this particular line. So I'll read it again. Prabhupada says, as it is stated that a devotee will at once develop pure love of Krishna in the wake of the gopis if he once takes a bath in Radha Kund. So that's an extraordinary statement. So let's all go to Radha Kund right now and just dive in, and then we'll all become filled with gopi prem. We'll be full of gopi prem, love of Krishna, following in the footsteps of the gopis of Vrindavan, because Prabhupada says once taking bath. So then the question is, many of us have taken bath multiple times. Why haven't we got love for Krishna like the gopis? And Maharaj, I was reading the other day, he gave a very nice answer. He said, because we're not perfectly following the other 10 verses. You can't even control your senses, your tongue, your belly, and your genitals. How are you going to, you can take bath in Radha Kund, but until you've perfected the preliminary qualifications. I actually don't bathe in Radha Kund anymore. I used to, but I'm waiting a while now. I don't think I've bathed there for, I think 2014. I think that was the last time I bathed in Radha, 2014, I think. I might have since then, but nearly 10 years. And I try to go there once a year, but I've stopped bathing there because I want to feel that I'm more qualified. So I just take the water, put it on my head, which is non-different, but it's very special to bathe in Radha Kund. But you have to be qualified. So it is being said here. And then the question is, how do you know if you're qualified? You have to get permission from your spiritual master. Right? Because different gurus have different instructions or moods towards bathing in Radha. So you have to get permission from your guru. Srila Rupa Goswami recommends that even if one cannot live permanently on the banks of Radha Kund, he should at least take a bath in the lake as many times as possible. This is the most important item in the execution of devotional service. So take bath, but as Manigriva Prabhu just mentioned, that some devotees went there, because Prabhupada writes this, take bath as much as you can. But some devotees went there and then they were doing bombs in Radha Kund, which is completely inappropriate. And the locals complained to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada actually said, okay, no more of my disciples bathing in Radha Kund, because the mood has to be right. But then after that, after Prabhupada stopped everyone, then he did say to a few devotees, one devotee was going to Radha Kund, and Prabhupada said, bathe for me. So Prabhupada did want us to bathe there, but the mood has to be correct. And actually, Atulya, she asked her guru, not long before he left this world, if she could bathe in Radha Kund, because she's never bathed there. And he said, yes, but he said, do it alone. He said, don't do it with a big group of many devotees. Do it alone. Or, with maybe just a few devotees. So the mood has to be very somber, very sober, very grey, very reverential to bathe in Radha Kund and Shama at our level. In paragraph 2, Prabhupada says, Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur writes that Sri Radha Kund is the most select place for those interested in advancing their devotional service in the wake of the Sakis and Manjaris of Srimati Radharani. Jivas who are eager to return to Goloka Vrindavan by means of attaining their spiritual bodies should live at Radha Kund. Take shelter of the Manjaris and under their direction engage constantly in Radha's service. This is the most exalted method for all those under the protection of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is the sum and substance of our entire Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, the Hare Krishna movement's philosophy, is that we should, in our consciousness, meditate on service to Radha and Krishna at Radhakund and gradually become purified and exalted so that we can then one day serve the servants of Radha and Krishna at Radha. So does anyone have any questions or comments on anything that we've discussed?
This is very esoteric.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, just look at the verbatim. It's being said there. You think that start sweating. That's the like Maharaj was giving me the class this morning. He said he was talking about this point.
Oh yeah, no, I read it in the last few days. One of the doors.
The other 11. I know that when I definitely felt like I lost something. It's just it's big and and something in moves big gone. And so for me it was just so that's amazing. But yeah, I mean it is very, very esoteric and very personal.
Yeah. Any other points? Okay, thank you all for coming. Very well. Next week, we'll have an overview of the 11 verses. And then the following week, you can have a break. And on the 14th of Feb, we'll have our closed book exam. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Bye. Hare
See you
Krishna,
soon.
Prabhu.
See you, Sri Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
all for coming.
Thank you.
Good to see you all.
Yeah.